a lot of people joining right now. Mynoo is going to grace us with this incredible wisdom about the dynamic and the dichotomy about when you secretly desire a surprise, and then also when you avoid it. So she's going to share with us this checklist of 7 keys to really reveal the rewards hidden in every single surprise. I love surprises. That is like my favorite thing, even if it's like a surprise of seeing a rainbow. So I'm like, surprises, miracles, they all go hand in hand, don't they? So we will hear a lot more, and I'm going to turn it right over to our beautiful, amazing host, Mynoo Maryel. Thank you guys so much for coming, and here is Mynoo.
Thank you. Thank you, Catherine, and hello, everyone. So yes, we are on the 6th pearl already. Looks like we just began, and here we are. So today's pearl is all about surprises. I was surprised to receive that this was going to be the pearl that we'll be talking about. Now, I have had surprises. I've had surprises. We all have, really. You know, and some of them are good surprises. Some of them are shocking surprises. And I really thought, what is there to know about surprises? So here we go again, talking about the 6th pearl of wisdom, which is all about surprises. So the first thing to understand is a definition of what do we call a surprise? What is a surprise? And when I delved deep into it, what I got was that it really is a reward. You know, when it's a reward, and it's a reward that's that has got an uplifting effect on us. Now that sounded interesting. However, given that sometimes we have surprises which don't feel that good, how could that be a reward? And I've had my collection of those. You know, it's just quite normal to being human. So when I delved deeper into it, I was guided through a process which I call the 7 steps to discovering the reward in a surprise, be it good, be it bad, be it ugly, be it beautiful. And I'm going to talk about those 7 steps in a minute. The first thing is to understand when we say a surprise, you know, is it classified a surprise just by our declaration that it is a surprise? Was the question I asked. And you know, that is exactly what it is. Anything that we declare as a surprise is the prize catch. We are the ones, like usually when you say, wow, that's a surprise, or oh my gosh, that's a surprise. It's a declaration that is coming from within us. It's not necessarily just a mental thing, because there is an emotional charge even to the declaration that something is a surprise. So that declaration that is coming from within is what classified whether something is a surprise. And the moment we say that, even if it is something that we don't want to happen, the fact that the declaration has come from within, that it is a surprise, it's useful for us to know that we have landed into a prize catch. It is our prize, it is our reward. And you embark on these 7 steps to discover what the rewards are. What is the prize that is underpinning anything that we classify as a surprise? So the first piece is an understanding that something something that has got many nuances has occurred. So it is really acknowledging fully that what has occurred just now has got many layers of nuances. And it is hidden in these nuances lies our reward. And if for those of you who have read my book, The Bee Book, it's available on Amazon. If you haven't read it, it's an audiobook as well as a paperback. So I talk about one particular incident in my life, which was a very stark surprise. And it was a time where I was due to go to the first wedding of the next generation in my family in India. I was in Bali. I wake up 2 days or 3 days before the travel to Bali, and my face is like 3 times its size. And you can hardly see my eyes. Everything is like hurting and burning. And, I don't know what to do about it. I start by, using aloe vera and all the stuff, the usual home remedies things. And in a day or so, the face shrinks, but it like shrivels, so this extension of my skin suddenly shrivels. So here I am on my way to the airport, and my face is full of wrinkles, lots and lots of very fine wrinkles. By the time I arrive in India, the wrinkles have transformed into the face becoming black and blue. As if I've experienced lots of burns on my face. It looked like that. Anybody looking at it would feel very uncomfortable, and I felt uncomfortable, and lo and behold, so that was a surprise. I wasn't expecting that at all. So my first question when I received these 7 steps to discovering the rewards, the prize catch in any surprise, and he kept talking about what I would classify as a bad and an ugly one. The first step really was understanding that, okay, it is a surprise. It is a prize catch. It has many nuances. Even that understanding that it has many nuances, and hidden within the nuances are the rewards, actually enables you to take a breath. The first step, I call it as an exhale moment. So having taken a breath, life continued, the wedding preparations were on. I was not able to be a contributing member of the family in the preparations that were needed. We had 1,800 people that were going to come to this wedding. This is a few years ago, so of course none of that would be allowed at this time. But so there, I was not able to contribute to that. And I looked scary enough for guests that were coming into the house to be prepared to receive me or even to look at me. So I decided to spend that time in my room. And at that time, I went into an intuitive guidance to go into silence. And I was guided to go into 3 days of silence in a wedding home that's filling up with people. I would have received this guidance anyway, and I would not have been able to implement it. So having experienced this surprise, here I am understanding the nuances, and a part of the nuance to enable me to find some of those hidden rewards, I'm guided to go into silence. So I go into silence, and every time I get guided to go into silence, I usually receive a topic that is going to be the theme of that silence. The theme of this silence, Spirit is quite humorous, was beauty and truth. I was just only present to the truth of the discomfort I was experiencing. There didn't appear to be anything that was beautiful. So I go into that beauty and truth for 3 days. And from that emerged a humongous body of work, which is all about really understanding, that when we take the time to be, we connect to our truth. And when we connect to our truth, that fills up with the beauty that we truly are. And beauty comes from within. And that's a statement, sort of cliched even now. I actually got to experience that for real. And not only that, I connected with, the spirit energies of Queen Sheba and Cleopatra, and received a whole host of recipes, which are beauty therapies for our body, our hair, our skin, nails. Queen Sheba taught me various exercises for the eyes, as a result of which I didn't need to use glasses anymore. And it just kept multiplying. And there's so much more that came from this experience that was a surprise, that just knocked me out. It was a curveball of curveballs, if you like, which meant it would have taken a long time to get back on track had I got sucked into the trauma drama of that surprise. So it's really important, if you are hit with something that is shocking or something that is an ugly or a bad surprise, have that exhale moment with step number 1. Know that there are many nuances to it. Step number 1 is only about knowing. And that just that knowing and acknowledging that knowing just gets you to regroup, and you can get into your center. Step 2 is about receiving. So now you're ready to receive. What are these nuances? So in my case, I got the beauty and truth. As the topic of this time of silence, when I went in to look at, well, what are the nuances here? And that gave me an understanding of what beauty really is. And it also gave me a unique understanding of what attraction is. Beauty, all that beauty is us standing in our truth. It's like, beauty exists. We are born with beauty, all of us, regardless of however we may look or feel, we are born with beauty. The light is switched off sometimes. And that the light, how to flick that switch on, comes from connecting to our truth. And that literally flicks the switch on. And it in particular, it's like a focus. It focuses only on that which is beautiful in us. And people receive us in that beauty. So this was a very important layer of nuance that I understood about what beauty is. Beauty is indeed be you. Really, it's like tee that up, that when you be you, you are beautiful. You become full of beauty. That was quite a yummy realization, this step about receiving. Receiving me as me, unadulterated, untarnished in any way, because in my truth, that's all that exists. It is in this step, and it's an important one, to help us understand what it feels like being ourselves fully, what it feels like being in our flow. What I also uncovered in this step as I was receiving that all I had to do was to step into my truth and be me, to receive and share the beauty that exists, I connected to attraction as another nuance. And what I found was attraction is not about looks. It really is about intrigue. And that, it came as a complete surprise. Indian weddings last 5 days at least. There's lots of stuff that happens. So, sure enough, I got my face to, after the 3 days of silence, my face sort of became a little bit more acceptable. It still had the blotches and patches. I couldn't put any makeup on or anything like that. And it was still swollen. So I did participate in the song and dance show and went to the wedding. And, people were speaking to me and connecting quite deeply, people that I had never met before. My logical mind said they would actually be scared to talk to me because I looked quite, gross actually. So, however, that was not the case. It was as if they were seeing something other than what the mirror was showing me. And I had some really interesting connections and conversations. And in fact, people were seeking out, wanting to come and speak to me, spend time with me, in amidst this 1,800 people that were there. And that gave me an understanding that actually what was going on, there was some attraction that was naturally being generated. And it got me to understand that attraction really is nothing to do with looks. It's actually to do with intrigue. So just in, the confidence with which I had showed up and I was floating around, that in itself had created intrigue, which made me a magnet for people to want to come and speak and engage in interesting conversations. And that's interesting because, I use that going forward. I use it even now. When you meet someone, when you speak about anything, share whatever it is that you wish to share. So it causes intrigue before embarking on a whole barrage of questions, which becomes like an interview exchange. Once intrigue is established, then you're both curious about each other. And you can then go into, where are you from? What do you do? Starting with where are you from? What do you do? Neither party is actually listening to what the answers are. It was a massive reward from that bad and ugly surprise. And it came from this step about receiving. Receiving myself in my truth, and therefore becoming comfortable with receiving myself as is. The third step is, I call it the acceptance step. So when it comes to surprise, and I guess I'm giving you an example of a bad and an ugly one, just so that it links together the steps, when you apply it to something that was positive, what you will find is that the positive surprise, just the experience of that just continues to linger on and continues to enrich your life. I'm giving you a stark example of something that was such a, it could be considered as a super low moment of my life. And lo and behold, this magic starts to unfold and reveal itself. Now, this acceptance step is a really important one. Even as we go about our day-to-day life, when you don't take that pause moment to accept, it starts to clutter your field. And it's as if this, you may have had the most delicious and even a very healthy meal. If you don't take the time to allow it to digest and layer it with some more and layer it with some more, it really does cause indigestion. The acceptance step enables you to assimilate and receive the rewards so that you can actually go to the next package that is wrapped up, which is your reward. Otherwise, the space is fully occupied with what you have just uncovered. So the acceptance step is a bit of a pause moment for you to take that time to assimilate. Now, because I was in a 3 days of silence, and usually when I do that, I have my journal and I handwrite. So after every little reward, I was sitting there handwriting. So once I accepted what I had just received in terms of some new understanding, that is when it actually becomes a reward. That it is in that acceptance, that realization that what I've just stumbled into is in fact, a very valuable knowledge. And remember, the moment you receive information and you convert it into knowledge, you're on the path to transforming it into wisdom that will continue to enrich your life until you choose for it to stop. So this step is all about really accepting. Now, every time you accept, like a new layer reveals itself of what's available. What more is available as a reward? And it actually during this time, I had started writing anyway. It was during this time that I connected to my ability to, tell stories in a way that is very engaging. And for those stories to really come from my truth, an expression of my truth, I hadn't quite uncovered that skill until that time. A story has a beginning, middle, and end. So if you're engaged in a conversation, you can begin and it's great. But when a conversation becomes a storytelling experience, you speak in stories, beginning, middle, and end. So there's the conversations always complete. I got to understand that the storytelling way of communicating actually puts me in a state of completion, moment by moment. And when you experience that experience of completion moment by moment, you feel really fulfilled, even if you only have 30 seconds with someone. It's quite a discovery, that one. And I mean, what I want to say is everything that I discovered for myself is available to everyone. We just don't take that time. I was, forced in my face sort of way to take this time. So I understood the nuances of what becomes available when you go into that accept part. That revealed this new gift. So that was another reward. Step number 4 is the step about allowing. Talking about rewards, I was someone who really resisted receiving gifts. It was like, that's not my thing. I give gifts, I don't receive. I don't need to. There was some ego there at the time. So allowing, in some ways, in that situation, I could say that I had no choice but to allow things to unfold, because what else could I do? I had already achieved certain levels I had already gone through a series of awakenings, so I wasn't in that sort of a mindset. So allowing was actually an adventure for me. And I do call it the allowing adventure. This is the allowing adventure step. And it's best for it to come in as step 4. So do the first 3 first, and then go into step 4. And as you go into allowing, as I went into allowing, I started connecting to the physicalness of my body. Up to that point in time, I had focused so much on mental, emotional well-being of myself, connecting through spirit. And I was going to be in a very, very active social gatherings. And the environment was one of celebration. That it was this allowing step that enabled me to release whatever pain I was experiencing. It's as if I had like completed with that layer of pain that I was experiencing, physical pain, and went into a new deep dive into my physical body and discovered a very specific health condition. I discovered a very specific root cause of that health condition that I had. And in my period of silence, that allowing enabled me to completely address and release myself of that health condition. You know what that did? It also gave me a very unique understanding that even a physical condition can exist in my field or anyone's field if there is a vibrational match. Even a physical ailment is a vibration. So by this time, I had already lifted myself up and I was at a different level of vibrations, that this particular deep-seated physical condition that really was at the root of many other conditions that I was experiencing physically at the time, I was able to address that. And lo and behold, all of these other conditions just disappeared. That came from allowing. The other thing that comes from allowing, or that came to me from allowing, and I have shared this in many of the wisdom shares that I have done, was the understanding of the process to arrive at unconditional acceptance of all that is. As the house started filling up with more and more and more guests, my space was the only space that was, really to myself. So when people came into that space, they either came in because they had something phenomenal to celebrate or share, or they came in as a space to unwind. I had somehow inadvertently created the space that I was in like a temple. You just walked in and you felt, everything just relax and release. It became like my chamber of truth because I wanted to experience the full experience of beauty. And that came from just allowing the unfolding to take place. What allowing also did was it showed me that it was perfectly okay to have a few things that are like zero tolerance things and be able to declare that this piece I do not tolerate. So I had a zero tolerance of, like not allowing myself to be pumped up with steroids to get over whatever it is that I was experiencing. So that was a zero tolerance thing. And I thought that was going to be a battle, but it wasn't. I just declared it and it was fine. Nobody pushed me to go and do anything that I didn't want to do. It brought a lightness of being. The next step is about anchoring. Now, the anchoring step is where I started counting. I started counting the different rewards that I had received from this experience. So it is an anchoring that you recount all the rewards that have emerged. And because I had actually addressed this physical condition, that literally when I go into recounting anything, I go full spectrum. So it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, social, and environmental. So you can imagine what that would be like, just going through and recounting all of these amazing rewards. It was uplifting. And, that was absolutely the experience of living a regenerative lifestyle. And I wasn't just recounting. The intention of this step is anchoring, right? So whatever I'm recounting, I'm anchoring. And voila, I had the experience of bliss. Something I'd written in my journals as something that I desire, the experience of bliss and bliss regeneratively. and bliss regenerated. I had that experience. Because what is bliss? Bliss is a consequence. You don't do bliss. Bliss is a consequence. What is it a consequence of? It's a consequence of counting your blessings. So to experience bliss, all I had to do was to count my blessings. And that's what this step is all about. And in counting my blessings, I was anchoring those blessings in my reality, in my field. So it became a blessed field. Catherine, how many steps have we done?
You're on 6 now. You've done 5. We just finished the 5th. You are totally in the zone, I see.
So anchoring is step 6 or step 5?
Step 5.
Okay.
Anchoring is step 5.
Yes. Step number 6 is amplifying. And amplifying, if you know, it's the magic of this work is everything goes in sequence. You know, getting into amplifying right at the start, which many of us have been trained to do in business, certainly. We go and then you have to do amplification. It becomes a process and it becomes hard work and it has its emotional ups and downs. But coming to amplification at this point, what I understood was I just had to hold the intention that all this wisdom that I have amassed is going to be amplified in the way that is done to influence and impact as many people as possible, which I myself may not have been able to reach. Just going to get some water. So amplification is the 6th step, preparing us for the next one. But before I go into it, I want to talk a little bit about how I got the amplification, how I worked with the amplification step. So when I understood step number 6 is amplify, I began with an exquisite process of what is God's or Creator's vision for me. There's something pretty huge that had taken place. So I guided myself into this vision, and I have done that journey on few of my sessions. But I literally allowed myself to be shown the vision for me, as intentioned by the Creator to bring me in this human existence. I saw the vision in its fullness, in terms of what was I seeing, what was I hearing, what was I feeling, who else was there, what were they seeing, what were they saying, what were they feeling, and expanded it out into the world and saw what was occurring in the world in terms of what was visible, what sort of conversations were going on, and what kind of experiences people were having. That vision was provided the context of the amplification. I then went into anchoring it into reality. I asked the question, so who am I to become to realize this vision? And I saw what I was literally intuitively received very specific responses. I then went on and asked, what am I to let go of to become that? And then I was brought in to ground it by asking, what are my logical next steps? And in doing so, the amplification was activated. And I embarked on what I call as the next 100 hours journey. Every time I've gone through a series of an awakening, spiritual awakening moment, it lasts about 100 hours. So this journey, this amplification and visioning exercise got me into another realm of 100 hours of this very powerful spiritual awakening experience, which got me to realize I did not need a quiet place to be going through a spiritual awakening experience. I can be in the midst of lots of noise, lots of people, and allow myself the gift of receiving that which catapults me to a whole new level in terms of my own journey of enlightenment in this human form. And that led me on to step number 7. And this is the step of rejoicing. It's rejoicing in the rewards. Rejoicing in this particular incident that I'm linking through these 7 steps got me to find my rhythm again. I used to be an Indian classical dancer and stopped at the age of 18. And that was just another lifetime. And here I returned and found my step again in the rejoicing. Like the lightness of being I experienced was phenomenal. When I had my face looking all black and blue, my friend JP would often say, "Oh, you're just going through this face peel. It's a natural one. It'll all be fine." And literally, when my skin emerged, after that, the skin just feels like baby soft. So it was sort of a face peel. And along with it, with that whole experience, some quite deep-seated chronic condition that could have caused significant problems physically going forward disappeared. So this step is the step of rejoicing. You've done your counting your blessings. Now it's just a matter of rejoicing, getting into the rhythm of rejoicing. And it got me to find my step. It got me to experience my sound. So not only was a new body of work that got created on beauty and truth, whole host of formulas for products that will come on stream at some point happened too. A physical transformation took place. Unwavering, unequivocal ability to remain in my center and remain calm in any environment, which is the mental aspect, took place. Emotional strength became even more resilient. I was stationed in spirit throughout. And stationed in spirit kept me connected to the understanding that I am a soul being having a human experience. And if I remain plugged into the soul essence of me, I am limitless, I am indestructible. I developed a unique power to express my own zero tolerance communications that I've wanted to have forever. And as I reconnected with my truth in a way that I had not seen in this way at all. All came from applying these 7 steps to a shocking, bad, and ugly surprise. Now, if you are to apply these 7 steps to a surprise that's positive, and my invitation to you would be between now and the next week when we go into the 7th pearl of wisdom, take what has occurred in your life. Here's the thing, because surprise is a prize catch, and we are very beautifully supported by our own guides and angels in human form and beyond. Until we catch that the prize, it remains there in our field. So you can take one or several incidents and take some that have been good, that have been bad, that have been ugly, that have been beautiful, So you take a good one, you take a bad one, you take a ugly one, you take a beautiful one, and apply the 7th step to each of the 4 incidents. It doesn't take that long now that you know what the steps are. And you will notice, even implementing one step on one incident will enrich your life beyond what you can imagine. That in itself will be a surprise. So you have another prize catch. So get quite, precise about this. And have a go. Choose at least 4 incidents in each of the good, bad, ugly, beautiful category. And emerge from there. It was quite a discovery. Even in this extreme situation, there were so many rewards. And what it does is when you implement these 7 steps, and that discovery continues, and one builds on the next, and it builds on the next, you get present to the richness of life. You also get present to the joy of aliveness. So your treasure trove of joy starts to build up. And you literally start living your life without the fear of lack of any kind. And that really is the key to the lightness of being that comes about. So I call it the surprise phenomenon. So just watch yourself, when you think, oh, that's a surprise, great surprise phenomenon occurred. You can log it in your mind mentally, or in your journal, or on your phone, so that you can implement the 7 steps on that surprise. It's the moment we think or declare that something is a surprise, that's where the surprise phenomenon occurs. It's really down to us declaring it. And it's like an extempore declaration, as opposed to, I'm just going to make everything a surprise. You can do that too. But the real juiciness comes from where you just feel, oh, that's a surprise. And you see, from my story, it's okay to declare something something untoward also as a surprise. Many people talk about the 2020 as, gosh, that was a surprise, in a negative way. Well, look at all the richness. I get them to, not saying that I'm asking them to do the 7 steps. In my conversations, they go through the 7 steps and they realize, wow, it's one of the best years of their life, beyond anything that they could have ever imagined, despite all the negative connotations that they had attributed to it. Please share what occurs. Please share what shows up for you. Share on Facebook, share on, in our WhatsApp group. That would be great. So having said that, we have a few minutes today left for any questions that anyone may have. Over to you, Catherine.
Thank you, Mynoo. Wow, I love this. This is one of my favorites. I think I say that every time, but they just keep getting juicier and juicier. And this feels like the surprise, the gift that just keeps on giving. So I love that we have these 7 steps that we can apply. And it's like an artesian well of rewards. And I just have a question, Mynoo, that I would love to have your perspective on. So do you ever see, if you go to the bad or the ugly, that might bring up something that causes yuckiness? And how do you manage that?
It does. That's the first thing that happens, and that's one of the reasons why sometimes we don't go to the good or the bad and ugly incident that might have occurred in our life. And that's why the first step was really about just acknowledging that it was a surprise thing that took place, and the second piece is just acknowledging that there are many nuances to it. That in itself starts to create an excitement, which ultimately you go through the first step and the second step. The moment you get to the receiving step, that yuckiness has disappeared, Catherine. So in my world, you always acknowledge what you're feeling. So yes, there is a yuckiness to it. And I would much rather not think about it. Well, in this, to discover the reward in a surprise, I'm not asking you to focus on the incident anyway. You're just taking that as something that occurred, and you're in a discovery process. You're going into the nuance. So the incident just becomes like a space holder, if you like, for all the rewards that got delivered to you. You know, it's a surprising package to that which is so exquisite inside. So that's really the key thing to remember. You know, don't ignore the yuckiness, acknowledge it, and know that there are many layers to this. Now let's do a deep dive.
I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much, Mynoo. If anyone else has a question, we have about 5 minutes. This is an opportunity to get to ask it live, and I'd love to bring you on to ask your question. So if anyone has anything that is stirring for them, I love Mynoo's perspective on this. And I love that we have this practical like tool belt now. It's we become the scientists of our own lives almost, and it's like the dismantling where we're taking things apart and looking at them as the observer, and it feels so much better than when we're just in it. So if anyone else has a question, this is your chance. Not to put you on the spot, but I'm sure there's someone with a burning question. If not, I'm just going to ask questions because I have lots of them. I do want to say, while someone's thinking of a question, Mynoo, yesterday I was in an odd space, and I was just called to go outside, and so I followed my guidance, and I was asking the question of like, what is it for me? What am I to do with this? I was having one of those yucky moments, and I don't know if anybody's in LA and has an answer to this, but literally I was guided, and I documented this on my phone because if I look at it now, I would never believe it, to these wooden signs that said "Be love," and it was like an Easter egg hunt. And these are, you know, as Vince knows, Mar Vista is very spread out. So it was, you know, 20 houses down, I would find one, and then 10 houses down, I would find one. I found 15 of these wooden signs that said "Be love," and I just realized how powerful we are, and when we use our guidance, and when we go on this journey, and when we step in and we lean in, and I just couldn't be more grateful for. You know, I was the observer. It's like those gifts were always there. I just didn't know to look for them. But because of your morning meditation, something within me, you know, sparked me to look beyond like what's in front of us. Yeah. And I literally went on an Easter egg hunt that was magnificent. And I think for me, this is like the gift that keeps going, is like that Easter egg hunt, to take these things apart and look at them. So, okay, guys, you've got time here. I'm filling up space. I'm waiting for your question. But if anybody knows the answer to this, because I don't know where these came from, but if I hadn't documented them on my phone, I used to think Maui was the be all end all because of all of the incredible rainbows. But this was something else that I've never experienced as an adult. And it was literally like an Easter egg hunt. And the fact that there were these wooden signs were magnificent. So I'm like, is this a trend or something I've just missed, you know, knowing about? But as I asked neighbors, no one seemed to know about it. And they were tucked in trees. They were in bushes. So it just really encouraged me to look at life in this way with curiosity and intrigue. So I've just really, really loved tonight's session because it is all about surprise and intrigue and what we can see when we allow ourselves. So I don't know if you have anything to say about that, since I don't have any more questions coming up, but it blew my mind, you know, what's really helpful.
It is interesting, right? Because the beyond meditation is all about, we are humans. It's time for us to be love, because that's what human is. And there you are seeing it. I mean, you live in the city of angels. You know, it is an amplification vibe there. So it's great. You know, I don't worry about questioning where they came from. The fact that they were there, you saw them, you documented them, so they're real. It's anchored in reality for all to see. You know, how wonderful.
Okay, I'll admit it. I put them out there for you to find.
I think I did call Vince, and I'm like, okay, somebody's got to tell me like what is happening here. But I so appreciate what's available to us if we just allow it. And that's what I came. And I came home so filled up. And on top of that, I've always wanted a grill. Okay, I wanted a trampoline in Maui. You guys knew that. And then out comes the trampoline. Well, I wanted a grill. Well, there's a grill in my backyard right now. And I lugged this grill home. And it appeared because there was a sign, "Be love," on the grill. So I was like, the girl's going home. So it's just, I just love this work, Mynoo. It's so profound and it's so freaking fun. And I think this lightness of being is just really, it's lighting me up. And, you know, I think sometimes we get so serious about things, but you put in such a perspective that allows us to enjoy life and be in the joy and the flow and the flowing and the flow. So I just thank you for that so much.
You're so welcome, and a very happy first birthday, Vince. What a great session on your first birthday.
Thank you.
And yes, it would be great for you to for all of you to share one word to complete the session for you, so Catherine can be reading it out. Over to you in the chat, your word to complete our session.
Well, my word is always abundance. And I just, today of all days, I think it's very appropriate that this idea of abundance that's available to us. So I'll start with that word. And I'd love to read the words as they flow in. So surprise in abundance. What a lovely surprise. Rejuvenate. Oh, love that word. Letting go is giving to oneself. Unlimited possibilities, gratitude, appreciation, rewarding, opportunity in every surprise. It's not surprising how wonderful this session was. Wonder, exciting, immense thanks for the true wisdom that you are sharing. Love you, Mynoo. Agreed.
Thank you. Thank you all. With that.
Oh, they won't stop. They're coming in. Unlimited miracles. For Musty in Miracles, Mynoo Maryel. A leader and mentor.
Thank you so much. And I'll see you all on Saturday, where I'll talk about a third nuance to 2021, which will be in our Beyond Meditation group. Thank you all.
And happy birthday, Vince. Cognitive, reframed, whole surprise, majestic, playful, unlimited miracles, lightness of being. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you all. We'll see you next Thursday for more fun surprises. Have a great day. Happy birthday, Vince.
Happy birthday, Vince.